Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
Welcome back to America's Heroes Group. I think Arturo and Titus are trying to make me take the day off with that cool music they keep playing in the background there. But I am really grooving with that stuff. Well, we are right back with you. This is America's Heroes Group Roundtable, serving disabled veterans in rural America with partner veteran clinic at the University of Missouri School of Law. June is LGBTQIA Pride Month. We are now, my host is Cliff Kelly. I am his co-host, Colonel Dr. Damon Arnold. The executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega, Scouts Honors Productions. And our panelists are Brent G. Filbert, a Pentagon retired 30 years U.S. Navy veteran, professor and clinical director for Mizzou Veteran Clinic of the University of Missouri School of Law. We also have Erick J. Anthes. He is a U.S. Army captain, combat veteran, and legislative advocate in Missouri. Today's discussion is going to be talking about fighting for disability compensation from the VA. It's always an honor to have you on, Brent, and I know you have a guest with you, Erick, but tell us a little bit more about what is going on with fighting for disabilities.
Again, and I am, so in the past we've had on veteran advocates in terms of lawyers and other people working to help veterans, and we've had medical personnel, that sort of thing. So I thought it would be good this time to bring on and have on the show an actual veteran who has served in combat honorably, bravely, has come back home and then had to face the really difficult task of fighting for VA disability compensation and benefits and succeeding. And so I thought it would be good if we had Erick talk first, and it really is a pleasure to have an Erick on with us. First, talk about his experiences in the military. Dr. Arnold, I know you served in Iraq, as did Erick, and talk about what his experiences were, and then segue into what happened when he came back home. So if Erick could go ahead and start off, that would be terrific.
Hi, Brent, and thanks for having me on the show. I served 11 years in the Army. I served with the 3rd Infantry Division for 2 deployments to Iraq during the surge, and then as we transitioned from Iraqi freedom to Operation New Dawn. From there, I commanded in the 1st Infantry Division at Fort Riley, and after a successful command in the 16th Infantry Regiment, I went up to the division headquarters and deployed in the first round of Operation Inherent Resolve against ISIS. Mm-hmm. During that deployment, I blew out my shoulder, had a couple other injuries, and came home and got medically separated. And while I was finishing my master's degree, I worked closely with the Veterans Clinic and Professor Drake and Brent to kind of assess what the state needed legislatively. I got a passion, I got a bug to go work with the legislature to fix things such as our state's amazing Returning Heroes Education Act and among other achievements in the legislative realm. And thanks to the clinic, they represented me from the moment I got out of the service, and they fought hard for nearly 2 years to get a successful conclusion to my VA benefits adventure, is what I would probably call it.
Erick, it was interesting to me, like when you first left the service after doing all the things you did in Iraq and enduring what you endured, what was your thought about how it would work in terms of applying for VA benefits, including any disability compensation? How did you think it would go, and then how did it actually go? If you could describe that for us.
Yeah. So when I first got in the service, I heard horror stories, guys waiting, or, soldiers waiting for years for their benefits. So I was not overly optimistic that I didn't think it was going to be very smooth, because it's bureaucracy, and that's usually the antithesis of smooth. But that all changed when I started going through the process and dealing with the VA for my those physicals that you have to go through, your mental evaluations. I found a lot of difficulty in repetitiveness, especially when it came to discussing difficult subjects. I'd have to go in and tell the same stories, the same, bad stories, 2, 3, 4 times, and then to be told that, hey, nothing's wrong, and, having combative evaluators at times, very frustrating. But that all changed when the law clinic came into my family's life, and I finally felt like I had someone in my corner. Not a VSO, which they do a great job, and I'm not knocking veteran service officers or anybody who makes their life mission to serve veterans, but the clinic is the most capable to get a positive and successful outcome for their clients. And once I had them in my corner, I knew everything was going to be okay, and I knew it would just be tactical patience. We just have to hurry up and wait because, and that's what we're trained to do, right?
Yeah. That's why I'm so appreciative of Brent and that clinic because, I've gone for evaluations myself, and you sit there and they don't listen to you. They don't write down what you say. You do have those combative, encounters that go on. So you really need a clinic like what Brent is actually working with in the university.
I absolutely. I consider myself fairly intelligent. I'm not the smartest guy in the room ever,
Yes.
But I couldn't have done it without them. And that's coming. Now I look at some of my peers, and I look at some of my soldiers that I served with. Did amazing things. Both in combat and in training, and for them to get out and now have to navigate this unbelievable mess, spider webs of bureaucracy. That's definitely gonna be a challenge for anybody, and to have the competent legal advice and representation by the clinic, it just is a game changer, and it truly did change my life, and I know it's changed the lives of the hundreds of veterans they've helped.
Yeah. So, Brent, do you have any other questions? I know you have a million things that you deal with veterans all the time, and what is it that you think we need to know?
So I'll answer a little bit, and then I'll also ask Eric to weigh in on the question. But so Erick, when you ultimately, after being denied by the VA and then appealing and going through that process, you were able to get the benefits and the compensation that you thought you were entitled to. Is that right?
Absolutely. More than I thought I was entitled to be honest with you. It was when I got the call from you and Professor Drake, I had to pick my jaw up off the floor because that changed my life.
Right. That's great to hear because it does. It really is life-changing for a veteran to get those benefits where they can move on with their life, take care of their family. But I think one of the things really that veterans need to know is, one, that once you get a decision that you don't like from the VA, is you can't just say, okay, that's the way it is. You have to really keep fighting and fighting and fighting until you get a decision which you think is satisfactory. And I would assume, Eric, there were points where you thought that, you know what, this just is not going to work out. I don't really have that much hope that it's going to work out. And you were represented by, very experienced attorneys as opposed to the majority of veterans who aren't in that situation. Does that sound right to you, Eric?
Yes. And part of my advocacy, it also is I deal with a lot of my veteran friends, and having the clinic teach me some of these bureaucratic lessons. How to keep fighting the fight. I'm able to relay that on to guys and other people that are not represented by attorneys, but able to give them, I'm not an attorney or anything, but give them counseling on how to pursue their claims and motivate them. I think that's one thing that that you're right, that message needs to get out. Don't stop fighting. It's not over until you say it's over because the VA works for veterans, and you have a voice in that, and that's a really valid point that I think we need to say more out loud. Just, hey, you got to keep fighting until you get what you earned.
Right. Go ahead, Dr. Arnold. Yeah,
and that's really interesting because one of the things I sort of disagree with a little bit that Erick said. He said he got more than he should have. He probably got exactly what he should have, or even a little bit less. The first thing he should have gotten was respect from the system when he got back. And they should have listened to him, and they should have, accurately reflected his medical issues in his file, and they should have gone about the things the right way. That's why, I think that the Missouri Veterans Clinic is so important, and, the University of Missouri School of Law, because there is first of all, as a retired veteran yourself, Brent, 30 years of experience, you know how the military operates. You see things that happen all the time. And so for veterans to have someone they can go to that understands things that actually how they happen, understands the laws, understands how disability claims apply, is critical. Without that bridge, many of us have died, waiting for benefits or, trying to apply for benefits that they rightfully deserve because of their combat duty or things that happen during service. Not even just combat duty, but we know we have deaths even in deployments, right? So as we mobilize people before they even leave the country. So we have people who get injured in regular routine exercises all the time. So this is something that I'm so glad that Erick brought this forward. And, you were saying this has changed your life. What do you think is, how does it make you feel to sort of be vindicated after being sort of demoralized to some degree, about applying for first of all, veterans never like to ask for anything. That's not part of our nature. And so to ask for something to be turned down when you think this is what they told me was rightfully what I should do and I should be getting this benefit, how does it make you feel to be vindicated in that?
I'll tell what I've been telling some of my friends that are going through what I had gone through, and they're currently in the process of going through the VBA portion and applying for their benefits. I tell them that this was not in the brochure. When you signed the contract, you promised that you would give everything up to your life to accomplish the mission that you're assigned. What they don't tell you in the recruiter's office is that after you sign that signature, America, our country, has an obligation to take care of you. And if you're willing to put your life on the line and you make it home, the country owes you a debt of gratitude at a minimum. And the care for the injuries and other things that the traumas that you've experienced and to care for you, because being a veteran is a very unique place in our society. It's looked upon very highly. It's a very I don't want to say it's a special class in a way, that you've done things that probably 95, 96% of the population in total hasn't agreed or signed up to do or wasn't drafted. We can't forget not too long ago we still had a draft, and the folks went without volunteering to go fight in Vietnam and other places. So I've always held my head high. I do believe I served honorably. And I served honorably with so many great men and women in the joint services, and just to have now to come home and be able to now have that my issues covered, so my wife and my family doesn't have to worry about it. It takes a big weight off of my chest, to be honest with you. And I'm just eternally grateful to Brent and Angela and all the personnel at the clinic that successfully fought for me. They fought for me, and I just there's no way I could ever repay them back for that.
Oh, that's fantastic. I was looking through your bio here, and I'm like, I see at least 5 movies here, so you may want to think about. I'm looking at all the places you've been, and all the hot zones you've been in, and I know you got the Bronze Star and the Meritorious Service Medal and Joint Service Commendation Medal, ARCOMs. So this is amazing, and that was 3 Oakley pluses on the ARCOM. So I'm wondering. You actually then got a master's degree and this was a master's in public affairs degree in 2017. How has that changed your life? How do you apply that? Because you've been doing some advocacy work for veterans as well, right through the legislature and those kinds of things. And I was looking at your, lieutenant governor, award and that kind of thing. So I'm wondering, how is that changing your life or your view?
The master's degree program was very valuable because I'm terrible at math. I married a math teacher for a reason, but they they taught me begrudgingly how to use statistics to motivate people of influence to get what you need done accomplished. That allowed me to aggregate different metrics that I used to show how Missouri can become the best state for veterans that are returning home. And one thing that I was really thankful for, we amended the Missouri Returning Heroes Education Act back 2 years ago, that as long as any combat veteran, anybody who served in a hostile fire imminent danger pay zone, if they move to Missouri and they register to vote in Missouri or they become a resident, they can earn their bachelor's degree for $50 a credit hour, and they get a 70% tuition discount on master's and PhD coursework. Now, of course, the PhD coursework isn't covered by your GI Bill, so that's but you still have this incentive to come home. So my vision when I first started out, after I learned that there were some flaws in the laws, I didn't mean to rhyme. There are flaws in the laws. My goal was to go out and fix them, number one, to help the guys in the Missouri Student Veterans Association that brought these to our attention. And then it became, how can we incentivize these combat veterans to bring their knowledge and their leadership? Because if you've ever been in Iraq, you've probably been a leader at some point in time. Bring that back not only to our schools, but if you're registered to go to school in the state, you're going to live here. You're going to, you're going to participate in the community. And, in my opinion, the more veterans a community has, generally, I think it tends to be a better place to live and raise a family.
Yeah, and Brent, this is really one of the key points that he's bringing up that I think is so critically important. On the last show, I was talking about veterans, and we were talking about the suicide rate, for veterans and those kinds of things,
right.
20 a day. And a lot of that is tied to people not getting their benefits or getting the kind of care they need in a timely fashion. And so, by providing this service, you're actually freeing veterans up to use their talents to really support the country in a different way, to serve in a different way. And if you are, tied down with depression or in pain, you may not decide to go to school. You may not decide to do anything. And it can be really a terrible spiral for people, especially with what was going on with COVID-19 and the pandemic. People were really isolated. So we're still looking at, was PTSD worsened by this, or, were medical problems worsened because you couldn't actually go into clinics to get care. So, it's coming out of this, I think this is really a really beautiful, beautiful example of how by paying attention to our veterans and listening to the heroes that come back like Erick and how they are looking at life it's reaffirming to me. I feel so good about this story.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. It is. There are often forks in the road for veterans who come back, and if they're able to get the benefit. And also, if they're able to be supported by people in the process of doing that, they just immeasurably do so much better and then, are successful after the military service and really can contribute to society. And just one positive thing I will say, Dr. Arnold, that's come out recently is in the most recent Defense Authorization Act, there is additional funding for clinics like ours to represent veterans in the process. So that is a big step forward. I think you're going to see there are a growing number of clinics who do the kind of work we do, and I think that's going to keep expanding. And it makes a difference in the end result for the veteran, but also along the way, that if somebody's there fighting for them, it just means everything to them.
Okay,
so that is one really positive.
Oh, we ran out of time, but I want you to give the connection point. How do people get in touch with your program? Where do they go? What website? Is there a phone number?
Sure. So the phone number is 573-882-7630, and that's the phone number for the Veterans Clinic at the University of Missouri School of Law. Also, our website is on the University of Missouri School of Law website. If you just look up Mizzou Law, you'll go to the law school website and you'll see a drop down for the Veterans Clinic. So it's very easy.
Okay, great. And that number is 573-882-7630.
That's right. That's right.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Erick, and thank you, Dr. Filbert, Professor of Law, and thank you so much for what you're doing for our veterans. We are just appreciative of your service to us. It has been, you've already served the country yourself, Brent, but you're serving us here at home, so we feel deeply appreciative of that.
Thank you so much.
And we're going on to another segment, and stay with us. We have another show coming up in a split of a second, so stay with us.